All right, everybody, what's up? Welcome back. A couple weeks off. We have a new member of the Football Chop family that is in the house, and mama and baby are doing great. So we had to take a little bit of break, and we're back at it, though, finally regaining some strength and energy. But so we're going to recap very briefly. I know it's been quite a while since the game played, but we're going to recap briefly the SEC championship game, kind of what we're seeing from both teams as far as Alabama and Georgia goes. We'll give a playoff prediction for my team playing on Friday night, and then we'll kind of glaze over the entire bracket, and we'll pick a national champion at the end of the day. So let's get right into it. SEC championship. Justin, just quickly, what did you see? What did you think? And the progression that Georgia's shown over the last, I don't know, probably 4 weeks of the season definitely showed up, in my opinion. So,
yeah,
let me know what you thought, man.
Yeah, I mean, much like what we've talked about over the last 3 or 4 weeks leading up to the SEC championship game, just that Georgia peaking at the right time continues to get better towards the end of the season. Defensively, I think we are hitting our stride as of late. You know, the offense wasn't all that impressive in the Tech game, so you kind of really didn't know what to expect. However, I talked a lot about with other folks that our game plan for Tech was completely outside of, kind of what we had shown against Texas or, Mississippi State or Ole Miss, because we wanted to control the clock and time of possession. So I knew we weren't going to get the full look, but yeah, everything kind of came together against, Alabama. It seems like the formula for Georgia is, get a blocked punt or get a blocked field goal on special teams. And, that's kind of like the catalyst for everything else, because the moment that we got that blocked punt, I mean, it was just like things clicked, our confidence fell into place, and, there really was no looking back after that. I thought that the offense played extremely well. I thought defensively we, played as good as we have the entire season. I'd even make the case that that was the best game our defense has played, period, this year. So, no, really, really pleased with that performance. Yeah, I don't know how much, I don't have much more to add other than just it was a completely dominant win. And, I was really, really impressed with, what I saw from this team.
Yeah, I think it's a performance that Georgia can definitely have a lot of confidence in taking into the playoff, right? The talk in the first half of the season was that this is obvious, this is by far Kirby's worst team, and the defense can't pull its own head out of its ass and can't cover anybody, can't do this, can't do that. Offensively, it's sluggish and stuff. And I'm not really, I can't honestly pinpoint a game where it just kind of broke open and happened to, take off the way it has. Probably, it might have been, honestly, I know that was, the fourth game of the year, so we're a little less than halfway. It's probably the tune-up game after the Bama game. It looked like when they started to find more of a footing, which I said was going to be a great thing for them, was after the loss, get a tune-up game, work on whatever just beat you last week, and then, keep coming up. And I think ever since then they've chopped away at it and been a much better team. If that team would have played in September in Athens, there's no way that we win that game, as clearly shown on the field from a couple Saturdays ago. So as far as Alabama's concerned, like I said, I'm kind of sick and tired of playing Georgia in the regular season. That seems to be, for like the last 2 years now, just the best game that we play all season. We played that one game, or really, I should say, we play that first half of that football game as good as any team in the country. And if that team shows up for 4 quarters in every game that we play, I don't think anybody sniffs within 25 or 21 points of us all season, no matter who it is. But that team never seems to come out of the locker room and sustain itself for the whole season. So it's the same story as last year. We digressed a little bit at a time over the season, and now we've done the same thing. And I think this season's digression is a little worse on the offensive side. I should not say that in general. The defense has played outstanding the last 4 weeks. They really have. They have done everything that you can ask them to do. In the game against Georgia, it's really hard to ask the defense on 3 separate drives to hold them out from their own 21, their own 12, and then the 43-yard line. That's just really freaking hard to do, especially with the athletes that Georgia's working with. And, for the most part, I think they played actually really well in that game. I think it was just, you can't carry them all game long. I mean, you just can't sustain that for all 4 quarters, that much pressure all the time. So offense is giving no help. We fired our offensive line coach, thankfully. I think we should have done that about 4 games ago. The run game is abysmal. It's terrible. I don't know what we're going to be bringing into the game against Oklahoma. We're going to talk about that. But I know what we don't bring at this moment in time is a run game and much of a creative passing game, really. So I don't know, dude. It was pretty pathetic, if you ask me. I mean, it was sad to watch, honestly. I mean, it was just like, I don't know who told them before the game, like, hey, boys, we're going to be in no matter what we do out here today. So let's just go and just see what happens. And that's, to me, how they played. They played like they were safe.
Yeah.
And Georgia was playing like they had everything to lose, which they didn't. They were going to be in regardless. But they still came out and competed the way that you should. So difference in mentality, for sure, when it comes to that. So sorry, it sucks. That's about the best adjective I can put on. It was abysmal. So.
And I know it's been a couple of weeks, obviously, since we've, hopped on and, had a chance to talk about, that game and just kind of like the state of where our teams are at. So, and I'm not trying to pour salt on the wound at all. This is more so just talking points that obviously have come up a good bit over the last couple of weeks, especially during the, final selection show that Sunday. When the playoff, teams got ranked. I'm curious just to kind of hear your thoughts on Alabama. I think Kirk Herbstreit said it as best as anybody really has, especially after the SEC championship game, which is that Alabama appears to be leaking oil, especially over the last few weeks of the season. And I know we're going to touch on the Oklahoma game, so I mean, we could even get into it now if you want, but I'm kind of curious. Do you agree with Kirk's comments? And then kind of what do you think are the factors that have attributed to that kind of storyline?
Yeah, no, I agree with that 100%. And, I'll add to it. I don't think that we have any business being here. I really don't. I mean, we had our chance.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't take advantage of it. You lose a pathetic game to Florida State. If we had not lost that game and showed up and played, and we played we had a bad turnover game against Oklahoma, and then you just get completely beat by Georgia, I think I have a little bit of a different mindset about it, honestly. But with the way that we played the last 3 weeks of the season, to be honest with you, even in the Iron Bowl, I thought we played really bad. Yeah, I think we are leaking oil for sure, and I think everything comes back down to, like I say, the defense is a playoff defense. I really do think so. They are very good. They do what they are asked to do, but at a certain point, we've all, you can't leave them out there all night long and expect them to keep getting stops, right? It's going to happen eventually. The offense is the problem, and that's why I don't think we deserve to be there. The run game is the key factor. Can't run the football. People are asking, why is Ryan Williams not on the outside? Why are we using him in the slot? This and that and the other. We had him on the outside for half the season, and he dropped 8 of 11 passes that were thrown to him. So we moved him inside to get him, 5-yard in routes, which he still dropped at the in the end of the day. And the excuse is keep going back to them. That's how they get their confidence back. Bullshit, dude. We need people to make plays. Like, if there's people on the field that are making plays and one person is dropping the football, get him out of here. I don't care who he is. If it was Bernard doing the same thing, I'd be saying the same shit. But the point is that if you run the football for, I think we ran the ball actually really well in the first, 35 minutes of the Auburn game. I thought that was the best game that we've run the football all season. I mean, I know we ran for like 115 yards, I think, against Georgia, but that game, the Auburn game, was like, it was just, we're going to run the football, and there ain't nothing you're going to do about it. Try to stop us, right? And they were, it was successful. And then for whatever reason,
Wait, are you 115 yards against Georgia? Are you talking about in September?
Yes, in September. Yeah. Okay, so up to that point, that was the best run game that we had prior to the Iron Bowl.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, sorry. So, and now, it's like 54 yards or 25 yards, and we had -3 against Georgia, which, that's obviously.
Well, losing Jam Miller is obviously huge, right?
But it is. At the same time, though, we've got you've got Dre Washington on the sideline, who's a 5-star recruit, good talent. You got A.K. Deere, 5-star recruit on the bench. He played some in the Georgia game.
He played a good bit, but Daniel Hill was the guy that really took that spot.
We have 4 5-star running backs in that room. A.K. Deere, Richard Young, fucking Daniel Hill, and I'm pretty sure Dre Washington was a 5-star. He could have been a 4, but either way, that is absurd, and you can't pick up more. I know the -3 is sack adjusted and everything else, but at the same time, from the line of scrimmage, we probably picked up 20 yards total at the most.
Mm-hmm.
It's pathetic. And I tell you what it is, and I'm no offensive line coach. I mean, I played it my whole life, but at the same time, you can watch football and know what kind of blocking scheme works and what doesn't. In this zone blocking shit that we were doing where you're taking your first step east or west rather than north or south.
Mm-hmm.
And, you can move people once you attack them. You can move them east and west to make a hole. That's the thing. But instead, we were just sliding and hoping that our running backs can dance around the hole and make one. And that does not work when you have a defense like Georgia or Oklahoma or Auburn's defensive line that are attacking you at the snap. That's never going to work. You're never going to get penetration. So that's the problem. The passing game, when we were somewhat able to run the football, was extremely effective because we had time, kept people on their heels. They didn't know what you were going to do, blah, 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 blah. We don't have a run game, so therefore the passing game is suffering greatly.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough when I know we've talked about this before, like just through text, but like any quarterback, I don't care if, we're obviously going outside of just Ty Simpson here, but like anytime you ask a quarterback to throw the ball 35, 40 times, chances are that's for a reason, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's because, you're not able to stay balanced on offense. And if you have to put that much pressure on your quarterback, that's tough sledding. Certainly not a position that any quarterback wants to find themselves in. And, unfortunately, that just happens to be the case for Alabama.
Yeah, I mean, but if, I don't mind, 35 to 40 passing attempts a game if you're running 80 plays. If you're an offense that can run 75 to 80 plays a game.
Right.
And, you're, 40 passing attempts and just say 28 rushing attempts or whatever. That's you're sticking within the line right there, and you'd have to see what the box score was on why you started leaning more towards the pass. But either way, I mean, I agree with him. I don't disagree at all. Anything that anybody has to say about Alabama specifically in terms of what kind of team they are right now and how they're playing and everything, I have no gripe whatsoever because I probably agree with them.
How surprised were you, Sam, about the not dropping at all in the final rankings?
Well, so if you look
I say final rankings, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean the selection. Yeah. So I mean if you look at who is below us, I should say, so it's Miami and then Tulane and JMU. The 11 and 12 are going to be the group of fives no matter what. Because they're not even ranked in the top 25. Maybe Tulane was, I don't know, I can't remember.
Well, the only reason why they're is because of the ACC not being in. So this is the first year that it's that way.
Right.
We're 11 and 12.
But, who do you, at the very most, you swap places with Miami.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that to me is not that big of a deal. I mean, either way, well, I mean, they should have swapped Bama with Miami because then you'd have a Bama A&M game instead of an Oklahoma-Bama rematch.
Right.
The reason that they didn't do that was if you look at the bracket, they did not want Alabama on the same side of the bracket as Georgia because they would rather, in theory, right, if you're looking at a 30,000-foot hypothetical view, they want to see Bama and Georgia rematch for a national championship for a third time rather than rematch for a third time in a semifinal game because that's more compelling, right? 1-1, this is the rubber match for the whole thing, right? So I could see that being the case why they didn't drop them, which, I mean, I don't disagree with. I wouldn't want to – I'd probably want to set it up the same way. The biggest story that nobody seems to be talking – I've seen like one person online say anything about this, and it's while Notre Dame people can be pissed off, all they want to about not getting in or Alabama snubbing them or whatever their excuse is. The two teams that are playing on Saturday at noon are the same two teams that beat that beat them. Now, I know that Miami beat the shit out of them, and A&M got fortunate off of a botched snap.
Yeah.
Either way, you lost to both of those teams. They're not going to rank you above them if we're doing head-to-head stuff, which I'm glad they finally did, right? But the two teams that fucking Notre Dame should be pissed off at is Tulane and JMU for stealing a spot that's more than deserved for Notre Dame and Texas.
100% agree with that.
Notre Dame takes 11, Texas takes 12. End of fucking story. You have a real playoff right there where every game now is awesome. Like that's straight up stack.
Yeah.
So if, like I say, they're not mad at Alabama.
Yeah.
And they're not mad at Miami. They should be mad at the system that we have of giving these group of 5 teams a chance.
Yeah. So I'm going to throw a statement at you and just want to see your reaction. If you agree, disagree, why. I think, and again, this is just my honest reaction to what we saw on the rankings that, 2 Sundays ago. I believe Notre Dame should be in over Alabama. Like, I feel like Alabama kind of stole a spot from Notre Dame. Now, I'm with you on the Tulane, JMU. I think it's atrocious for the playoffs. It's ridiculous. But I just feel like Notre Dame 1,000% should be in the playoffs. I don't like Notre Dame. I don't love the fact that they're not in a conference, and that's detrimental to them. If they ever want to go anywhere, they just got to get over it. They got to commit to a conference. So I'm sick of that. But I just think about, something that I've talked a lot about this season, which is, a team doing this versus a team that's doing this. If you're playing some of your best ball towards the end of the season and you're catching, if you're getting hot at the right time, I feel like that would be fun and entertaining for all college football fans to have that team represented in the college football playoff, because there's going to be teams that make it in that didn't even play in a conference championship. You've got A&M that's in, right? You've got Oklahoma that's in. And so I thought that it was unjust in a way. I don't know if that's the best word to use, but all week long leading up to the SEC championship, they talked about, well, if Alabama gets boat raced in the SEC championship game, would that be enough to get them out of the playoffs and then make way for a team like a Notre Dame that's on the outside? Obviously there was a big discussion between them and Miami. And so you have Miami gets in, and then you have Notre Dame throwing a hissy fit, which is a whole separate issue. But, they were talking about that all week long. Like if Bama gets boat raced, well, that's not going to happen. But then it happened, and then they didn't even drop. And they're the only team in the playoff era that's lost and not dropped a spot in the conference, like from a conference championship, which is really interesting.
SMU dropped last year after losing to Clemson. I don't think they did. If they would have, Bama would have got their spot, or South Carolina would have got their spot.
Okay. I saw something online that was like, we lost a couple of years back in the SEC championship game when we were the 1 seed, and we dropped 5 spots, and we got out. We were out. We were eliminated. This is back before it's the 12th team. But I just thought, you even said, you don't think that Alabama should be in the playoffs. So I'm curious, your reaction to what I just said.
Yeah, no, I think Notre Dame is a team that's good enough to be in this playoff 100%. If it's between – here's the thing, and so it's twofold for me, right? Because we want to keep these conference championships relevant. We want people to get excited about playing in them. But if you set the precedent of, if you play in this game, one team, regardless if they win or lose, Georgia in that case, is going to go to the playoff no matter what happens. They could get beat by 40, and they're not going to drop out of the playoff because they came in 3 or 4 at the time. They're not leaving the playoff. And
I think can I pause really quick on that statement alone? I think, though, it should mean something, though. If you get beat by, in that scenario, if Georgia got beat by 40 points, we were the 3 seed in entering that game. If you get beat by 40 points, I feel like that should drastically matter where you slide in the final ranking. So, if you told me that we lost by 40 and we slid all the way to the 10 or the 11, now, granted, this is a little bit different because of the Tulane JMU stuff, but I would be like, I expect that. I expect to slide that far because that's a significant beat.
Yeah. Well, so, and like I say, it's a weird thing because the way that they rank these playoff rankings when they do the final selection, compared to when you rank them during the season or in the APs or whatever. Like when we lost to Florida State, we moved from 5 to 17 or whatever it was, right? Like we just plummeted.
Right.
In the scenario of the playoff rankings, you're going to look at, okay, so we're definitely going to drop them. Let's say we're going to put them past Texas Tech. We're going to rank them behind Oregon, and we're going to put them behind Ole Miss, right? Because Ole Miss didn't play, blah, blah, blah. So now it's, okay, so you got 7 at A&M, you got 8 at Oklahoma, then you got Bama at 9, and Miami at 10. Who out of those people would beat Georgia? Or take Bama out of it, right? Because they just won the game. But out of those 4 teams, who's better than Georgia in that scenario? You go, well, actually, Georgia beat Ole Miss. They are better than A&M. They're doing this. So the slide, to me, even if you got beat by 40, I don't think would stretch past 6 at the furthest.
Okay.
The furthest that you would go with it, and say it's 7, right? Say you don't move Ole Miss at all.
Sure.
You go to 7. And that, to me, is a reasonable slide when you look at who is behind, who's lower than that is, can you justify stacking them up that way? But like I say, if you want to keep this championship game stuff going, if you want teams to even want to participate anymore in it, then you cannot have consequences at all for losing if you are the team with everything on the line. You cannot give them a do or die situation if you want this stuff to matter anymore. Because to me, if you make that precedent of going, hey guys, you got one team that's safely in, you got the other team that's right there on the bubble, and if something crazy happens and they lose, you fall out. To me, I'm going, can I forfeit my spot to the 3rd ranked team and let them fucking go play?
Yeah.
I don't want nothing to do with it, because I'm not trading a chance at a conference championship to give up my shot for a national title. That's never going to happen, right? So it's a double-edged sword. Nobody's going to like it. I don't like it. Like, I think we all agreed, like, neither one of us wanted to play in that game. Honestly, I know your dad didn't. I don't know if you.
No, I mean, I trust me. I didn't want to either.
I didn't want no part of it. Like, none.
Yeah, we were pissed when A&M lost to Texas.
Right, and that's honestly the first time that I've ever been pissed off. Like, fuck, dude, like we're putting our ass on the line here with this thing.
Yeah.
Now that's always how it's been.
Yeah. Well, so follow-up question to you then is, so I guess like my main point is like going back to the question that I kind of like paused at, which is that I feel like it has to mean something how you play in these conference championships.
It does.
When there's already a couple of variables, like your record entering into that game. Like if you're undefeated, which is what the Big Ten championship game was, and let's just say Indiana smoked Ohio State, they wouldn't be a top 4 seed, in my opinion, and I think most people would agree with that. Now, again, it's like the thing that nobody thought would happen happened in the SEC championship game, and Alabama doesn't drop at all. I'm not trying to like rehash this, but it's just I thought it was like interesting, and I could like put myself in the seat of Notre Dame going, well, our only 2 losses are to 2 teams that are now in the college football playoff, right? And like there's already other teams that are in the playoff who have losses to other teams that are in the playoff. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, and I really buy into the Notre Dame stock at the end of the season, like basically ever since those 2 losses, the first weeks. I think Notre Dame is playing some of the best football in the entire country. I think they've got the best running back in the entire country, and CJ Carr's played, a lot better than those first 2 weeks. Anyways, I digress. I was more so curious if you think that it should mean something how you perform in those championship game, because otherwise we could just be like, well, I can lose by 100, not to quote Pitt's head coach from earlier in the season, but that's kind of what the narrative kind of becomes. If you're going, well, this kind of set a new precedent in a lot of ways, right? For teams that enter into a conference championship in years to come. It's like, well, if we've got 1 or 2 losses and we come in and we're playing a higher ranked opponent in that championship who's kind of got that guaranteed spot no matter what they do. But if we lose badly, does that put a lot of pressure on us? Should we be in it still or should we not?
Yeah, I mean, like I say, with the not sliding thing did surprise me, because I honestly, with the way the game turned out, I was not expecting, I didn't even watch the fucking show.
Yeah.
After the things came out, I got on Twitter. I'm like, holy shit, they've already ranked everything. I didn't even know, because I was fully expecting us to slide to 13 or whatever it was going to be. And it all comes down to that they took Alabama's resume over the life of the season, over Miami's resume over the life of the season, to not move Bama back a spot. And then they took Miami's head-to-head win over Notre Dame and gave it to Miami rather than having Notre Dame slide in. But they've talked for 2 years about, we want to keep conference champion. I'm going back to that because that is, to me, that's the end-all, be-all argument.
Yeah.
Now, you can play however you like. I don't want to play bad in a game. Now, if you lose like we did, like I say, I've said it once, I'll say it 1,000 times, we don't deserve to be here. It's going to be on those boys to make an opportunity to shut a lot of people up and say, well, it looks like they got their shit together,
Yeah.
So outside of that, I don't think we should be there. However, everybody has their chances throughout the season, whether you take the most of them or not. But the committee has set themselves up for all-time criticism on this deal because of what the message that they've been preaching for 2 years is conference championship games matter. And, here we are. But what's shitty is, it's just to wrap what I've got, everything I've got. Maybe I didn't answer your question. If I didn't, I'm sorry. But,
no, you did. You did.
Okay, so to wrap up what I've got to say about this whole deal is, when the 16 comes around next year, the 17 and 18 seeds are going to be bitching.
Yeah.
And it's going to be unfortunate because that is going to be the most diluted playoff of all time, man. It's going to suck. The first round games, you might as well just go and go Christmas shopping, dude, because it's going to suck. It's not going to be worth watching. I mean, you're going to have regular season tune-up game matchups for a playoff, and it's absurd. So
yeah,
I think if you'd have taken the 8 teams, if you'd have just cut it off at 8 this year, and you'd have had Oklahoma all the way down to Indiana, more than a worthy playoff, dude. People would have been thrilled about that shit, and we wouldn't even be talking about this. And then if you'd have had 10, I think he still would have been fairly thrilled about it because, like I say, the outrage is not over JMU and Tulane for some reason. So, anyways, that's all I got to say about that. But like you say, Bama doesn't deserve to be there. Notre Dame is playing a better game right now. If they lined them up tomorrow, Notre Dame would probably win that game based off of their balance and their identity as a team and everything else. So, it is what it is, I guess. But so say all that to say Oklahoma and Bama on Friday night. Well, I tell you what, actually, we'll pick that game first and then we'll go through the whole bracket. How about that? So, cool. Friday night, first game of the playoff. It's by itself on Friday evening. Should be a lot of fun. Alabama, Oklahoma rematch from the matchup in Tuscaloosa. This one's going to be this time in Norman. Second time Bama has gone to Norman since we started playing Oklahoma. Lost the first one, and I don't see a whole lot really changing in the matchup, to be honest with you. I don't know how Alabama losing their offense, or not losing, I should say, firing the offensive line coach and letting Grubb and his assistant take over the run game responsibility. I don't know what we bring to the table run game wise. You know what they're going to bring in the passing game. The defense is going to play to the best of their ability, and I don't have any doubts in the defense whatsoever. We have a couple people out, no excuse for how you play. It's next man up mentality. So overall, I don't know what the spread is. Haven't looked. Don't really care.
Bama 1.5.
That's surprising, to be honest with you. So 1.5. I mean, I'm not taking the favorite in the game. I'm going to take Oklahoma to win. I think they win by more than 2 this time. I give Bama the benefit of the doubt of maybe putting a needle in their ass, for a little bit and then maybe keeping it to 3 points or something. But we just don't have the continuity. We don't have the identity right now as a team on offense to score any points. And Oklahoma's defense is good enough to cause you some issues if you can't be balanced. So I'll take Oklahoma at home, man. They'll move on and play Indiana. Sorry to say.
Yeah, I got a couple of questions on the injury front because I know you would know better than I. How serious is Ty Simpson's slip disc issue with his back?
Is that a confirmed issue?
Yeah, that's what I've seen. I just figured you would know more.
I've seen slip disc. I've seen ruptured disc. I've seen a hernia. I've seen like 4 or 5 different things. I saw the thing about where he was at some dinner for the Tennessee high school football player awards, and he was wincing at the table and this and that. I don't know, dude, to be honest with you. DeBoer's come out and said he ain't hurt. I saw a video of him today throwing at practice. He looked fine. Now, that's not to say he ain't hurt. I don't know.
Sure. Yeah, no, I mean, it's just crazy how it hasn't really been talked about more. I mean, that sounded like a serious injury.
I can see it being a problem, dude. I really can, because his regression. Now, they say it happened in the Iron Bowl, but you take his first 9 games to his last 4 games. That's a totally different quarterback. So it had to have been something prior to the Iron Bowl.
Yeah, just kind of developed over the course of the season.
The everything I see online after the Simpson injury was put out was Auburn people are claiming that, we busted him up in that game. And then I saw Georgia people claim they busted him in that game. So I'm like, somebody had to have busted him, and it was before y'all, I think, because the last 4 games have been terrible. But either way, I don't know what's going to happen. Now, however, what I said, and I still stand behind, if you are Kalen DeBoer, you 100% are going to have Austin Mack or Keelan Russell ready to fucking go.
Yeah. I mean, they've had playing time this season too, so it's not like their number hasn't been called.
Playing time, right? And I know that the opponents that they're playing were not elite or nothing by any means, but same time, I mean, you go out there and you take advantage of the opportunities that you're given. It doesn't matter who you're playing,
right?
And I got all the faith in both of those kids, to be honest with you, to go out and play a really good game. And regardless if he's hurt or not, if Ty Simpson comes out and he's a dud and he's flat and he's missing fucking,
you would want him to be replaced.
Routes, dude, we got to win a game here. Like your personal loyalty and love for the kid cannot supersede the other 64 guys on that roster, and you cost them a shot. It just cannot happen. So we'll see if he's got the stones to do it, man. I know I watched one coach pull a guy when it needed to happen, and it worked out really well for him. So we'll see if he's got it too. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay, so that's Ty Simpson. Next guy was Cuevas. Is he out?
Cuevas, I have not seen any updates on Cuevas.
Okay.
I think Cuevas's was more of a head thing.
Okay.
I think he had a head like a concussion protocol type deal. Maybe that lingered a little longer. I hope we get him back. That would be great.
And then what about LT Overton? Is he still out?
LT Overton apparently is highly questionable for the game. Okay. I don't know what the fuck he even did. I don't know if it's an ankle problem or if it's anything lower body. I don't know. Now, I would love to have LT back. He didn't play against Georgia because of an illness, but now it's still something's lingering around. I don't know. So, and Jam Miller is probably going to be questionable. He was on crutches at the end of the Auburn game. So
right. Those were the 3 guys that I was curious about before I kind of gave my
and
take on this game.
Who I would really like to get back, besides Josh Cuevas, is Kevin Riley. I don't know what really happened to him. It had to have been in the Auburn game at some point. I never saw him go out, but he didn't play in the SEC championship game. He's listed as injured. I would love to have him back. If we don't have Jam in the lineup, that's your next best equivalent as far as catching out of the backfield or anything like that. Same, type of skill set. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, so I mean, I know obviously Alabama's banged up. Every team is at this stage, but missing critical guys like that is certainly doesn't help the cause. I think Oklahoma's defense is a juggernaut, and I just don't know that Alabama can turn things around on the offensive side of the ball. Even with a week off, that's kind of the biggest thing to point at in this matchup. It's tough to play and beat the same team twice in one season, but it being a home game for Oklahoma, a night game, I just don't know that Alabama is going to be able to stay on the field long enough to sustain drives. Hopefully Alabama will be able to, make plays defensively, turn the ball over, because as we know, Oklahoma's offense can really struggle at times. So I feel like this will be a low scoring game. I don't see either team breaking, 24. It feels like it'll be kind of reminiscent of the first time you guys played. What was it, 23-21 was the final score?
23-21. I could see it being like 14-10 or something like that,
Yeah. So I would take Oklahoma just because of their defense. That's kind of what I'm pointing to.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I agree with you too. So, sorry to say, first round exit for Bama. So is what it is. So we're going to do a full playoff landscape here. We just picked the first one, so you're going to have Oklahoma moving on to play Indiana. Obviously, Oregon and JMU. We've already kind of touched on that off camera, which was if Oregon doesn't win by 25, they just need to just pack it up and go home. So we'll have Oregon and Texas Tech. You'll have Ole Miss drumming Tulane, which probably cannot happen any sooner for John Summerall, so he can get his ass down to Gainesville and start working for real.
Full time.
Right, yeah. So you'll have a rematch between Ole Miss and Georgia. The A&M and Miami game is going to be super fun, especially, to watch for sure. I hate that it's at noon. I really think that that's just a slide. But I got A&M moving on in that game. I think that their defense is more than capable of shutting Carson Beck down. Louisville made Carson Beck look stupid. So if they can do that, I think A&M is 100% capable of doing that. So I'll take A&M to move on in that game. I know we're not making like super full predictions, but we're going to. So A&M is going to move on against Miami. So you'll have Ohio State and A&M. So that's going to be.
I want to touch on that Miami A&M game really quick. This game comes down to who do you trust more at the quarterback position, and I would have to say Marcel Reed.
100%.
Just because of what he's been able to do the entire season outside of that Texas game, which kind of feels like a fluke, and you're going, it's a rivalry game, and Texas has kind of had their number historically. So no, I feel like that was probably the best thing that could have happened to A&M was losing that game. It's like, okay, now we've got that one out of the way. Now let's just go and, make a run at this. I feel like Miami's lucky to be in the playoffs. They've had a couple of bad losses. And yeah, I agree with you. I think they'll be able to rattle Carson Beck, force him to turn the ball over 2 times at least. That's my prediction. I think he throws a few picks or they force a fumble. So the other thing I wanted to touch on was a video that I saw yesterday. Joel Klatt was on a podcast. They asked him of these first round matchups and the teams that are in them, who do you see as being the most likely to be playing in a national championship game? He said none was his immediate reaction. Like none, and then he said, of any of them, Oregon. And I was looking at Texas A&M on the screen the whole time. Like that's the team I'd be circling going. They've shown me more than I've seen from Oregon, in my opinion, this season. Yeah. I feel like they are more than capable of going on a run and challenging each and every single one of these teams in this bracket, to be honest.
No, I agree with that 100%. I mean, they have one really, bad game against Texas where they just got completely outplayed. Texas was playing for everything, and A&M was, they're obviously playing to stay undefeated and go to the SEC title. I don't think that one game is justification to not say that A&M can't win a national title. I mean, everybody on this list besides Ohio State and Indiana has played a bad game and lost. Everybody. So I don't know how he doesn't. I mean, how do you justify, Oregon? Oregon, fuck off. And Joe Klatt is about the biggest piece of shit. I mean, he is the biggest Ohio State glazer, just absolute crotch monkey for Ryan Day that I have ever seen in my life, dude. Like I have no shits given to the Big Ten or anything else. I think that whole league is trash. You got like 3 teams that are good, and the rest of everybody else just kind of coasts along and plays Purdue and Maryland and all these, shit ass teams or whatever, and think that they're badass. That league sucks. But I'm telling you right now, he jacks off to Ohio State. And if it was up to him, Ohio State would never have to play another football game ever again, and you just crown them a national champion every single year. We don't even play games. It's going to be Ohio State, guys, just so y'all know. It's going to be Ohio State. I don't even think he went to Ohio State. I don't know what his deal is with them, to be honest with you. I don't get it. Watching the Michigan-Ohio State game was unbearable. Ohio State run the ball for like 3 yards, and they go, look at the push that they got. I'm like, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Like it's a routine play. Just shut up. So I could give a rat's ass what Joe Klatt has to say about anything other than I don't know how bad his analysis is. I mean, it's just terrible. It's so bad. The next person who's worse is by far, and this is what's crazy is because he went to Bama, is Damian Harris. He has the second worst analysis out of anybody I have ever seen. Saying that DeBoer's job is on the line on Friday night is absurd. It is absurd.
Wait, why is that absurd?
His record and Saban's record are the exact same through 2 seasons.
Wait, but I've heard you say many times that you're ready for him to move on.
In the heat of the moment, he fucking sucked. He didn't get the team ready. Fire his ass because I'm tired of the mentality. And that is exactly true. I have said that plenty of times.
Okay.
However, if you're looking at stats like his job's on the line in an objective third party point of view of an administrator or somebody else that's making those decisions, because I don't make them. Why would you fire him? He's got the same record as Saban in his second year. He's in the playoff. He just finished first in the SEC. Why would you fire him going into his third year?
I think that the only argument being that his record is the same as the greatest coach in college football history at the 2-year mark.
Plus the other things that I just said.
That's like, I feel like there's stronger arguments that could be made for why you should be like strongly feeling that we shouldn't get rid of the guy. But
that's not the anchor. That's not the anchor of my argument.
But let me ask you this, Sam. Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. If you guys do lose to Oklahoma on Friday, like, I'm prepared to hear you say that it's like, and you're just one person. Like, I know that the fan base is going to go insane. It's going to go insane.
I know. Well, yeah, but it'll depend on how you. For me, it's to how you lose. If you're going to lose, it's how in the manner in which you lost. If I see the same loss that I saw against Florida State, against Georgia, in the playoff game that you've had 2 weeks to prepare for and get ready for, or week and a half, whatever, and you still lose in that way, in shape and form, clearly there's something awry here to where you're not going to be able to get these guys ready for the biggest games of their life when they come around. You can't. You know what I mean? So to me, like I say, to me, it's in the manner in which we lose. If we lose, now listen, we lost by 2. I was super pissed off. Now, I was pissed off at more than, I wasn't really pissed off at DeBoer at the time. I don't remember. I was mad that we turned the ball over and everything else. Like, we beat ourselves in that aspect. If we go out, we don't turn the ball over. We control the time of possession. We have more yardage in them. We get more stops on defense, and then we get a turnover, and we can't figure out how to get in the end zone by not turning the ball over, but just can't finish a drive, and you still lose by a field goal or whatever. They made more plays than you do. You didn't capitalize. That's not necessarily DeBoer's fault, because at the end of the day, he's not the one out there playing. So if you just come up with play short, I'm not going to be nearly as mad. I'll be mad at the players at that point. Like, DeBoer will be the least of my concern. So, but if you go out and get beat by 21, and your team doesn't show up like we did in Norman last year or whatever, I'll be very fucking pissed off. Yeah, for sure. So, but yeah, I don't agree with that take whatsoever. They're not going to fire him if he loses to Oklahoma.
Well, I mean, I don't think so either.
So I don't know.
At this point, all the coaches have been snatched up. So
his job might be on the line with the fans, but at the end of the day, Greg Byrne doesn't give a shit what any of us say. So, which is probably a good thing. So second round. So Oregon, Texas Tech. Quarterfinals, Oregon, Texas Tech. Who you got?
I got Texas Tech. I think that they're one of the scariest teams in the whole playoff.
I agree. So I'll take Texas Tech as well. So we got Texas Tech moving on to the semis. You got Indiana and Oklahoma. I'm going to take Indiana in that game. I'll take Indiana actually by 2 touchdowns in that game. I think they're twice the team Oklahoma is. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, I would take Indiana. I was thinking ahead to this one going, has Indiana seen a defense like Oklahoma this season?
Ohio State.
You know?
Ohio State's defense is really, I mean, they do have
they are
firepower on that defense.
They are. So, yeah, I mean, I would still take Indiana to win. I just think it might not be the cakewalk that many people would probably think it would be for Indiana, but I would still take it.
Yeah, okay. So, Indiana, Texas Tech in the semifinals. You got A&M and Ohio State. That's kind of tough. I will take Ohio State because of the weapons that they have on the outside with Jeremiah Smith, and then I think they might be able to run the ball a little bit better. I think Julian Sayin can execute at just one more notch better than Marcel Reed can. So I would take Ohio State in that game personally.
Yeah, this one's interesting, especially because I've now got to back up the fact that I've said A&M is a team, which I'm still confident in that.
They definitely can.
I think I'd take A&M
Really? Okay.
I've seen other people take A&M in this matchup.
Yeah.
I just think that Ohio State showed that they are immortal against Indiana, and I think that Marcel Reed poses a lot of problems for them defensively. Being a mobile quarterback who can sling it down the field at will. I mean, when A&M is firing on all cylinders offensively, they are without a doubt a top 4 team in the country.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm like high on them. I think that 7 next to their name is misleading folks a little bit. It's almost like folks are sleeping on them because they lost to Texas. They didn't have to play in a conference championship. And here they are about to go and play Miami. They get them at home. Folks are really high on Miami in that game for some reason because of their defense. Yeah, they are, but like I think A&M wins that game, and I think that I'm going to take Texas A&M to beat Ohio State.
Okay, so Texas A&M moving on to the semis. Georgia, Ole Miss. Seen that game play out. This one was without Lane Kiffin, Pete Golding. Been there, done that. Got the T-shirt. He's not good. So I'll take Georgia without a.
I take Georgia too, just because when we played them earlier in the year, much like the game against Bama, our defense wasn't what it is now, and we played our lights out offensively in that game, which is ultimately why we won that game. And defense kind of came alive late in that game. I mean, if we play like we have defensively for all 4 quarters, I just see it being a much different game, much different outcome than when we played them in the beginning of the year, where it was a 8-point victory. I see it being more like a 14 or 17-point victory.
Okay, so Georgia A&M, and
there's also talk, Sam, that Trinidad Chambliss is questionable against Tulane because he's been meeting with his agent about whether or not he should be playing in that game. I don't know if you've seen that.
I have not seen that.
Yeah, my dad made sure to bring that up when we spoke earlier today, and I did not know that.
Neither did I.
That's an interesting storyline for that matchup.
I think they can play. What's the backup kid's name? I can see his face. I can't remember his name. Anyways, the kid that started at the beginning of the year who got hurt. I mean, they could play him, and they're still going to beat Tulane. So I don't think it. That's probably why he's going. Do I really need to play this? Probably not. But as a competitor, it's a fucking playoff game, dude.
Right.
So,
yeah, exactly.
Anyways, you got A&M and Georgia. We'll stay on that side of the bracket. So A&M, Georgia for the semifinal game.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Scary because, both teams are, I feel like, pretty evenly matched.
I think if you're A&M and you're coming off of a win against Miami and then you come off a win against Ohio State, that I don't know who else you could play to give you more confidence to go and play a team like Georgia and think that know that you can go in there and beat a team like that.
Mm-hmm.
That game would all come down to execution. And for me, with how the last few games have turned out, I think Georgia is executing at a higher level. So I would give the nod to Georgia in that sense, based off of how they've trended. Now, I just said a minute ago, A&M's played one bad game. Everything else has been stellar, besides the South Carolina game where you go down, you have to come back. But, yeah, I think Georgia would execute at a higher level. And I think that Kirby's ability to get guys ready in the spot like that is superior to Mike Elko's.
Now, would that change? Would that pick change if you went with the original team that you picked in the Ohio State A&M matchup? Like you originally took Ohio State.
I would take Georgia to beat Ohio State. I think I think Georgia would have an easier time beating Ohio State than they are going to have against A&M. Honestly,
that's interesting. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I think I'm not trying to take a stab at Ohio State, and that's why I didn't pick them to beat A&M. I think Ohio State is a good team. But, yeah, again, when you don't have to play a whole lot of teams and then, your toughest matchup, Indiana, you couldn't get the job done. We've seen this from Ohio State historically over the last, basically all of Ryan Day's tenure. Last year being the exception because they got a second chance after losing to Michigan yet again. And then you had the highest, roster, in terms of, money that you were showing out. So kind of like if you didn't win it, then you're a total waste. So that's why I just feel like Ohio State, it's more of the same for them. I think that they'll be really nasty next year, but yeah, to get back to the A&M Georgia game, I'm with you from an execution standpoint, the way that Kirby gets the team ready, I would be inclined to take Georgia as well. I also think that should A&M beat Miami and then beat Ohio State, it's kind of a classic case of man, those are really like, that'd be emotional wins, especially the Ohio State win. So it's like, have you spent it all at that point
Yeah,
when
it's a
you get
lot.
to playing a team like Georgia, if they were to
100%.
play?
Yeah, it's a lot, man. Physically too. I mean, that's two really tough teams, and Georgia earned the right to sit at home for one of those weeks, right? So
Right.
yeah, that'd be tough. It'd be tough for sure. So at that point, you got Indiana and Texas Tech. I'm going to take Indiana to go and play for the national championship against Georgia. I think now, while Texas Tech is a good team, they got a great defense. I think they play with a nastiness that they haven't had at that school in a very long time. And I think Indiana, man, they play with a physicality that could match anybody's in the country. As evident, when they played Ohio State, they matched that one shot for shot. And the score in the Indiana game against Ohio State is not indicative of how I think Indiana really honestly handled Ohio State in that game from start to finish. They played their ass off in that game, and Ohio State was doing everything that they could do to win that game. And Indiana was just doing what they've been doing all year, So I'll take Indiana to go play Georgia for the national title.
I think I'm going to shock you. I think I'm going to take Texas Tech. The Cinderella story comes to an end for Indiana. I mean, it's already an impressive season. You've got the Heisman winner and Fernando Mendoza, your Big Ten champions. It's a historic season for a team that has been the worst team historically in all of college football. Mm-hmm. Worst team. So big year for Sig. Hats off to him. I just think Texas Tech is nasty, man. They are a really sound football team. Defensively, maybe the scariest team in this entire bracket. Going to sound like a broken record there, but yeah, I'll take Red Raiders to upset Indiana.
Okay. So I've got Indiana and Georgia playing for the national title, and you got Tech and Georgia.
I'll say this, Sam. I originally have Indiana and Georgia playing in the national championship game, but I'm just going to break the mold because we know something is going to happen in this. I feel like something crazy is going to happen in this bracket, and I don't want to just have 1 versus 3 in there. So that's why I'm just kind of going. You know what? I wouldn't be surprised if Texas Tech did pull off the upset against Indiana.
No, I wouldn't be surprised either. I would be disappointed because I really do like I love Indiana.
No, I do too.
Well,
yeah.
I'll tell you, I mean, I don't love Indiana. I like
Sig.
I love Kurt Signetti, number one, because he's got that style about him that I crave.
He's got a swagger. Yeah.
He does. And it's the he coached under Saban and with Kirby for many years at Alabama, and he's got that same attitude, which I'm craving right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I love him. Fernando Mendoza, while on camera and speaking in front of a microphone, he is an absolute weirdo.
Yeah.
And there's probably on the spectrum just a hair. He can play some football, and I could not be more happy that he won that trophy over that piece of shit that was out there partying with all his antics on Saturday night, Diego Pavia. Fuck that guy. He's a piece of shit. I hope he goes undrafted and goes.
And we need to launch
a football league.
We need to launch a full-scale investigation. I'm calling for it. Full-scale investigation. Get the FBI on it. Get the NSA on it. We got to get a full-on investigation on Diego Pavia's height because I'm not buying this 6-foot crap. I don't buy it. You look at him standing next to his whole posse, which make him look like a midget, and then standing next to the guys that he was competing against in New York, I was like, man, this guy might be 5'11".
Who reported he was 6 foot? Vanderbilt? He's 5'10" at the most.
That's what he has listed as his height and weight. Yeah.
What a dipshit. Yeah, well, the combine will expose that if he even goes there real quick. That sumbitch ain't more than 5'10", then I'm sitting here in front of this fucking, this computer. And his brothers, the Lollipop Gill video is without a doubt the most accurate thing ever. That's the 3 biggest dumbasses on the planet. I'm surprised he didn't have his mama wearing some gaudy ass outfit with him and doing whatever BS he thinks he's good enough to be able to do that. And people are just going to overlook it as far as an NFL GM and all that other stuff.
Yeah, 6 foot, 207 pounds. I just wanted to verify that. If you go on, ESPN has him listed as 6 foot. There's no way.
There's no way he's 6 foot. There's no way he's 6 foot. His dipshit brother that got arrested at Tennessee is all of 5'11", and he was an inch and a half taller than him. So, yeah, Johnny Manziel is, I guess, his who he's trying to
his idol.
equate himself to.
Yeah.
Johnny Manziel took money for autographs, and Johnny Manziel partied in an era of just social media was really, really just starting to get rolling. So it wasn't all this exposure. He thinks that he can just do whatever he wants to, and he's that good to where the NFL GM's going to go, yeah, we might have to just keep an eye on him. We're going to draft him in the first round, though. Bullshit, brother. That is a cancer in a locker room right there, 100%.
Yep.
And we all thought Shedeur Sanders was bad. That guy right there is on a completely different level of despicable and insufferable. I'm serious, dude.
Yeah, no, he's bad.
Piece of shit.
Yeah, he's a sore loser, and I don't think he's going to be a first round draft pick. But
Chat GPT'd an apology to Mendoza and Indiana and whoever else. It's like, buddy, your agent told you to write up an apology because your draft stock was plummeting.
Oh, yeah, 100%. He just cost himself a ton of money.
Asshole.
But whatever.
Anyways, we digressed badly, but I just think that had to be said. So,
yep. So we have either Georgia and Indiana or Georgia and Texas Tech.
Yep. So in my matchups, I think the Indiana-Georgia game would be phenomenal. I think it would be stuff that plays in replay ESPN Classic, if that was still a channel, all the time. It'd be a knockdown, drag-out, slugfest, and, I mean, it would come down to one play, dude. I mean, one play. And it could be a penalty or a turnover or anything. It would be that close. And I would have Georgia winning the game by a frog's hair. They would win, and that's all that would matter at that point because you're the one holding the trophy. But I think Indiana would be more than able to hold themselves up after that loss. So
100%.
I'll take Georgia to win the national title against Indiana. I think it'd be a game of the century, in my opinion. So I'll take Georgia to win the national title against Indiana.
Yeah, interesting. I'll say this. I know I have Georgia going through the scenario of making it to the national championship, but I want to put an asterisk next to it by saying I wouldn't be surprised if we have an early exit or we don't make it to the game. But I also will say, and this is why I place an asterisk next to it, because if we do make it to the national championship game, then I feel really confident that we end up winning the whole thing because this team has just really surpassed all the expectations that I had at the beginning of the season before we played a single snap. I thought we would have 3 regular season losses. So And the turnaround from the first half of the season to now is tremendous. So, I hope we aren't too emotional after, winning the SEC championship and conquering a team that's been the monkey on our back for the last 10 years. But again, that's why I say I wouldn't be surprised if we do have, a playoff letdown. But if we do make it to the, national championship game, it's like that tells me that this team is just playing with a confidence and a swagger about it that, lets me believe that there's nobody that's going to beat this team. And that's not to say that it would be a blowout for if we played Indiana or Texas Tech, because either of those teams would give us a really good fight. But yeah, I would take Georgia to win the national championship. I'm not going to say points. I just would take us to win.
I think it'd be one of Kirby's best coaching jobs.
I already think that this is his best coaching job this year. I've said that publicly. I've said that a few different times. I think, again, just because of what we were at the beginning of the year, it's the development of players, right? Like Ellis Robinson was a guy that I completely wrote off at the first 4 games in the season. The guy couldn't cover anybody. He couldn't stop a nosebleed. And here we are talking about him as being one of the best guys in our back. I mean, he's probably the best guy in our backfield right now. He has emerged as everything that we chalked him up to be when we recruited him. He's now playing at that level. So that's, again, just coaching. That's development. It's giving these guys, more time to believe in themselves. Quintavious Johnson is really coming on strong. KJ Bolden's played a lot better these last few weeks. So yeah, I would say, and I mean, to take Gunner and make him look as good as he looks is also pretty remarkable. And that's not me trying to throw shade on Gunner. It's just I don't think anybody expected Gunner to be playing as well as he has this season.
I think Gunner has got about half the skill set of these quarterbacks in the playoff. And that's not me talking shit. It's really not.
Yeah.
It's just he's not built the same way. He doesn't have the arm. He doesn't have the size. He doesn't have well, he's got some speed, but he is cerebral in what he does. He understands the game, and he is smart with the football, and that is the making of a really, really good quarterback when you have to overcompensate for your physical attributes not doing the work for you, which, like I say, that it doesn't sound like that's a compliment. He's been the best quarterback that Georgia could ask for him to be.
Yeah.
And that's all that matters, right?
Yeah.
You don't ask him to go out and be a Heisman Trophy winner. You don't ask him to go out and be a 5,000-yard passer or whatever. You just say, win us ball games, however that happens, and that's what he's done. So nothing else needs to be, said about it. But in terms, like for me, I would think it'd be Kirby's best coaching job because his national title team in 2021, he had a really good one that year too. But in 2021 was built off of, while obviously he coached them, but was built off the back of one of the best defensive rosters you could have possibly have put together, right? Everybody talks about LSU's 2019 offense. Well, Georgia's 2021 defense is what got them there and won them those games. The next year after that, he rode a really veteran roster that had played together for a really long time and had a shitload of unity. And that is very valuable when maybe you're not the best team on the field, right? Because that can overshadow a lot of things. So in terms of this team, he doesn't have veteran. And at the beginning of the season, he didn't have unity as far as I could see. But as far as development goes, yes, while the guys have gotten better throughout the season, I think personally, I don't think it's so much development as it is. I think Kirby finally sat down with every one of the coaches in the room and said, what we are doing right now is not putting these guys in the best position to go out and play their best. I think we're putting them in situations that make them look like they're bad. So let's cut it down, simplify it, and then use the strengths that we have in the positions that we have and call what works for them, not for us. And they went out and put it into motion. And I think that has been the difference is he is utilizing the skills on his roster in the right way with his play calling and how he sets it up, which is all about very smart coaching. You have guys like Hugh Freeze that try to play a kid into their system, not play the system around the player, and they fail. Or you have guys like Kirby that say, my system can operate with guys twice as good, but I'm going to operate it at a very high level with what he can do because once I give him the tools, he can go and execute it. So, all the
I think another thing that's really
that's a great coaching job. I mean, that's straight up the best way to do it.
I agree with everything that you just said. It made me think about, a moment that I saw in the SEC championship game that I hadn't seen the entire season. And I felt like that was something that was lacking this season, especially, and I'm highlighting the defense. It was right after Alabama scored, and you had a moment on the sideline where CJ Allen huddled up all the guys defensively, and he was getting in the face of everybody, like, challenging them to be better because they weren't happy that they, let Alabama score. And he was, calling out guys like DeMello Jones, who had a terrible game. And, was a guy that was playing really good in the second half of the season, had his worst day in the SEC championship game. But, we need guys like that. You need a leader and a voice on defense. We've had it in previous years, whether it was Nakobe Dean or Nolan Smith, right? And you just need an alpha to motivate and get and hold the whole team accountable. So that was a really good, thing to see, especially at this point in the season. So, I mean, we'd kind of been waiting for that, wasn't sure who it was going to be. Cause like you said, outside of CJ Allen and Dalen Everett, and it's not going to be Dalen Everett because the guy sucks. But like, you don't really know who's going to be that guy, who's going to step up, take the reins as being the voice and the quarterback of the defense. And CJ Allen's really stepped up.
Well, it's the hardest thing in the world as a player, especially because, Kirby takes this with him all the way, and I know he does because of how he coaches and his mentality with his players. It's like Saban said, if you want to please everybody, you can go sell ice cream, or you can go be a leader and, not necessarily be liked by everybody. So it's hard as a player to want to bring your guys together and y'all be a brotherhood and a friendship and close and trust each other, whatever, to be able to, at a certain point, you find, these guys are smart enough to look themselves, in the back of their mind, they're going, hey, this is the moment right here. If you don't step up and be a fucking asshole and tell those guys that they're fucking up, then you're not going to we're not going to get where we want to go. And it's, as a coach, it's probably really proud for them to look at that and go, CJ found his moment to break the mold of, hey, I'm your buddy, to I'm trying to go win. And if you don't want to go there, then get the fuck out of here. And this is what we got to do. And Kirby's recruited the guys that respond to that type of coaching, which is, like I say, I love it, man. That's how I respond in life. And, that type of thing where somebody gets on your ass, then that's constructive criticism, however they say it.
Yep.
In a world of sensitive athletes, I'm a fan of it. I really do like it. So
no doubt.
Love it. So anyways, George is your national champion from both of us. I would love to see a third-time rematch, but that ain't going to happen. I think it'd be really compelling and brutal at the same time for all of us. But, yeah, so Georgia, that's a story. I mean, that's Kirby's – they'll make a documentary out of it. They made a 2021 season show and this and that, but the 2025 season show would be the best one because of what you see on the practice field that got those guys to be able to pull it together and win a national title when there was nobody probably picking them week 6 of the year. So, including us, which, great to him, man. Congratulations. It's awesome. So, looking forward to the playoff. Next week is going to be probably a little different. I got to travel on Tuesday evening to go down to get a little work done before Christmas, but we'll see how it goes. So, or it might get canceled. If we do, we'll have Tuesday's show before Christmas, and then we'll take a little break and come back. So, love it. Guys, appreciate y'all. Thanks for hanging with us through the break. Y'all be sure in the comments to welcome Brooklyn Ray to the household and into the world. Going to be the best Alabama fan you ever seen in your life. So my wife would disagree. But anyways, congratulations to Georgia, who's going to be your 2025 national champions. While I did pick them to lose, roll Tide.
Go Dogs.